In this episode, I'm interviewing Krista Pathrath. She is the social media director at Zenith Marketing and Sales. She is my partner and such a lovely person. Please enjoy getting to learn more about Krista. All right, so Krista Pathrath, you have a lot of things going on right now, but first, you are my partner with Zenith Marketing and Sales. I heard, how are you? Let's start with that. Sorry.
I'm great. I'll get into this a little bit more, but I'm coming off like a huge weekend. So
Awesome.
I think this is a great time to interview me. I'm super
Awesome.
excited.
Thank you for taking the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I read a book recently and it talked about multi-passionate entrepreneur. And I thought of you because you have Zenith, you have Southwest Media Solutions, you work with Cowboy Lifestyle Network, and then you have your own podcast, Women Going Big. So you are the multi-passionate entrepreneur. You got that. And you're saying this is Cowboy Krista right now. This is
yeah. So my Wrangler hat, I have like my flannel on. I literally, just to give you a little background. So yes, all of those things. Yes. And I started doing, so I have a passion for the Western lifestyle, and that's where the Cowboy Lifestyle Network and this rodeo volunteer stuff kind of came into play. And I just got done. I've probably worked, I don't know, 50 hours. Well, 10, I don't know, probably between 40 and 50 hours in the last 4 days on this rodeo. It's called Las Dutchman Days Rodeo in Apache Junction. And it's something that I've been working all year on with a team of about probably 15 core people. And I do it. It's all on a volunteer basis, but it's something that I absolutely love. And it's a combination of all of the things that I already do. So marketing, PR, networking, it all comes together. So
awesome.
yes.
So
multifaceted.
Yeah. Which is good. Flexible.
Definitely.
So I was reading the article about you on, is that Voyage?
Oh, yeah.
So I was reading that article, said you started at 16. Talk
Man,
about how you're making money then.
You were starting at the very beginning.
Yeah.
So I did start making money when I was 16. And, I always tell people is that I knew from a really young age that, like, I didn't want to depend on anybody for my money. Like, when I started driving, I had to pay my own insurance and pay for my gas money. And every time I needed those things, like, I had to ask my parents for money. And I didn't want to have to depend on asking my parents for money to be able to pay my insurance or pay my gas bill. And the one thing that I was really good at doing was riding horses and teaching people. And I'm like, why don't I just start giving riding lessons? And so I did at 16. And literally ever since then, I have never not made my own money, regardless of what it is. I probably gave riding lessons for about 3 years. And then I started college and, all that fun stuff. But I always tell people that's kind of where I started, because that's when I realized that I didn't have to depend on anybody else, not like an establishment, not an employer. Like, I literally could depend on myself to pay my bills.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you also traveled a lot. You also, with the cowboy lifestyle that you have, did that play a role in how did that come about, I guess?
So, I mean, the passion started really young. Obviously, like, riding horses, like, I loved everything about the Western lifestyle. And I always, like, I wanted to make money. Like, I wanted to be a horse trainer. When I was like 18, I'm like, oh yeah, I could be a horse trainer and just make a lot of money selling and training horses. Just an FYI, you can't. And chances are you get hurt and you end up in the hospital, which is actually what happened to me.
Oh.
And I realized that I couldn't do that, and I had to find something else. And I did. And I think at that time, I decided to go back to college. At that time, I was still at the community college and I was going to transfer to ASU. So that was when I decided to go get my bachelor's degree at ASU. And the traveling kind of came about in 2014 when I wanted to change a pace, and I got a job in Estes Park, Colorado as a horse camp counselor. And I was there for about 3 months teaching little girls between the ages of 8 and 10 how to ride horses.
Mm.
And it was phenomenal. But that kind of gave me the confidence that I could leave home and realize that I was okay, like, without people. Like,
Mhm.
I had to be self-sufficient and make my own decisions. And it was a great experience, but I say that's kind of what started it all, because after that I was leaving for a good part of the year for the next 3 years after that.
Mm.
um and that's when I started the whole rodeo volunteering thing, and that's how I got my job at Cowboy Lifestyle Network. And now I travel to rodeos for my job pretty regularly. Like this week, Wednesday, I will be leaving to Texas for about 5 days to do that exact same thing. So
That's awesome. So
yeah,
what do you do to help balance these multi things? Just keeping a good calendar, keeping good friends, like how do you?
that's that's a really good question, Maggie. I think it comes down, and first of all, like, I don't recommend that for everybody, because not everybody is cut out for that. Like, you really have to be in the right mindset, and you just have to be able to handle it. Like, it's almost like multitasking, like,
Yeah.
to an extreme, but you have to manage it. So you have to say, okay, I'm going to dedicate this time to this one project. And then you kind of block out your time according to what you have to get done. And, like, honestly, especially for me personally, in the last probably month to 6 weeks, like, my focus has been this rodeo,
Mm.
because I had sponsors. I had a lot going on, and my priority was to make sure that this last weekend went off without a hitch. um but now, I can kind of reprioritize. And I think it's just about keeping your priorities straight, and making sure that you're getting the things done that you absolutely have to get done, and
Hmm.
then just kind of keeping your list straight like that.
Yeah. So do what's in front of you.
Hmm.
Cool. So with your role with Zenith, let's talk about what you do for us and how you help us and how you help our clients.
Perfect.
What is that?
So, what is that? So I guess this is like a good segue to, because we talked about the traveling and everything else, and kind of just talking about my journey and how I started, is that when I stopped traveling, or when I think I was in my third year of traveling, and I just gotten back from about 3 months in Wyoming, and I was working on a horse ranch in Wyoming, and I was riding sale horses. And it was probably 6 to 7 hours a day, and I was riding 4 to 5 horses a day for, divide the time, but I was riding every single day for a majority of the day, and I came back burned out. And I'm
Mm.
like, okay, cool. I have a college degree, and, like, I don't have a ton to show for it right now. So I came back to Apache Junction, and I'm like, all right, I should probably get a grown up job, because this whole traveling thing is not working out. So I started kind of looking at my skills and what I went to college for, and I'm like, I'm really good at social media marketing, and I love it. And at that time, I'd already been doing it for the rodeo for about a year. So I had some experience, and
Mm.
there was no one doing it in Apache Junction yet that I could really see. And I'm like, I'm going to start a business doing social media marketing in Apache Junction. And I did. And very shortly after I decided to do that, I joined a networking group, and my clientele kind of took off. So from the time I started my business, I continually had on average between 4 and 6 clients for the next 3 years. And kind of around that 3 year mark is where I met you and John.
Hey.
And John, I know, so I was getting there. John is our third partner for Zenith Marketing and Sales. And it was so cool because by the time that I met you guys, like, I feel like I had already gone through like a lot of the growing pains that new business owners have. Like, I knew that I had to raise my prices. I knew I wasn't valuing myself for what I was giving. I knew that I couldn't do everything and that I could get more working with other people. And I knew that there was value in teaming up with other professionals that had the same like mindset and values. Like, that's what it came down to.
Mm-hmm.
And I had already had that idea. I just didn't know how to make it happen. And then John came up to me with this crazy idea of partnering and white labeling what we do. And so that's how it started. Like, personally, like that was my journey to Zenith and to this whole partnership. And then kind of where we're at now is now I'm able to take the skills that I was able to develop in my own business and apply it to Zenith. And I love it.
Awesome.
And
I'm so
grow.
glad.
Like I've been able to grow. Like, I do more. Like, I help with the email campaigns and I help you with content when needed. Like, I think me and you, it's kind of cool because like I feel like you and I are like the creative side of it.
Yeah.
And like we do great with the words and the creative aspect of it. And then John, I feel like, kind of balances this out.
He reels us
He's
back.
like, he does, but like he kind of like, he's the real side, like the analytical side.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like we balance each other out great.
Yeah, I agree. Like, we all work well together. And so you'd mentioned valuing your own work. I think that's something a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with. I think there is a line like, I got to start charging more, or I got to go find a different job. And like, what you do has value. What we do has value. Like, just got to find the right clients. You got to find those that know they need help and will also value it. So sorry, I didn't want to interrupt.
It's okay. No, finish.
So for somebody just starting out, would you say go find a good networking group? Or how do they get out there?
So, honestly, truly, like, I will tell anybody out there, I think that networking is great for anybody. Like, even if you're an introvert, which I am, like, surprisingly, did you not know that?
I did not know that. I'm an introvert.
Really? Okay. No, seriously. No, I am an introvert. Like, probably 60% introvert, 40% maybe extrovert, but only because I have to be. With my job with Cowboy Lifestyle Network, I have to be pretty social, but I'm also really good with people because I've been in customer service for as long as I can remember, because I was a server. I was a waitress forever. Like, all through, since I was 18, I've been a server. So that's 8 years, almost 8 years I was a server. So
I was a server. I was so bad at it.
Oh,
So
okay.
bad.
Maybe that's not why I'm an extrovert. But either way, like I'm just really good with people. But the way that I re-energize is through being by myself. No, I think that networking is great, and I think that regardless of if you're an extrovert or an introvert, you learn how to be with people, and you have to learn how to represent your business and represent yourself. And I say represent, but it's really branding. You really have to learn how to brand yourself and your business, and what the right things to say are when you're talking to people about what you do and how you do it. And the only way that you can learn is by doing it. So just get out there and do it.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have an option. Like, if you're networking, you're going to talk to people one way or the other. So I mean, I would just say get out there and do it. Find a networking group that you really, really like and that you vibe with, because I think energy is everything. Like, 100%. I don't care who you are. you have to be able to mesh with the group that you're in.
Yeah.
So
And I'll plug One Networking here.
yeah.
Such a good group. Been with them almost as long as they've been up and running, but yeah, such a good group and vibe and energy. Like I've audited or
Mm-hmm.
gone to visit some other groups, and it's just so cold. Like, not literally cold, but people's personalities. There's no like, yeah, good job. It's just your time is up, and it's like, okay.
Well, and the thing is too, like with the networking is that, and like I don't want to bash like structure or any other networking groups out there, because they all work to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
But it really comes down to, and I'm also going to plug our own event coming up.
Yeah.
Because Maggie is going to be our main presenter for that, and it's going to be mapping your brand. And really truly, like when you're networking, is that you are representing your brand, like you are representing, like you are your brand at that point, and you really develop that whether you're brand new or seasoned.
Mm-hmm.
Like you are a walking talking brand for your business when you're networking.
Yeah.
And you don't really, I feel like you can't really know what that is unless you do it. And every networking group has its own vibe, whether you're like a labor person or a service person or a product person. It's different for everybody. So you just have to kind of find what works for you.
Yeah, and your own brand's going to evolve and
Mm-hmm.
change, and which is a good thing.
Yeah,
definitely.
Absolutely. So you just have to know when those things change, but
yeah,
and then adapt to it.
Yeah, and then also like when it's time, you need to push that change and make it happen. Yeah.
Yes.
So let's talk about your podcast, Women Going Big. What inspired that? How important is women in business to you? And let's chat about that.
So that's kind of interesting. That's a brand new thing. Literally, I started this in January, and that came about because I think it was about 6 months ago. I wanted to do like a women's event that would include women from all walks of life, no matter what you do, what business you're in. There would be something for you at this event. And I was going to have vendors, breakout sessions, speakers, and especially speakers that wanted the opportunity to speak but didn't have the chance to. Like this would have given them the opportunity to. And it was just going to be an all-inclusive event. And I had a whole pitch deck, and it was like a 9-page. I had a venue, my prices, it was all mapped out. And somebody reached out to me, and it was somebody I didn't know. And long story short, like my idea got stolen from me, and somebody else took it, not the name, but they took the whole idea and did it themselves. I don't know what the outcome was because I was so mad I didn't even bother to follow up. Anyway, so I just dropped the entire thing. And about about January, I'm like, and it was you actually, like when we decided to start our East Valley Entrepreneurs podcast and you found Anchor.fm, I'm like, well, this is like way easier than I thought it was going to be. I'm like, I could do this. Like I could turn this into something else. And so I turned the initial Women Going Big event into a Women Going Big podcast with the same premise that I wanted women from every walk of life, again, whether it be business owner, entrepreneur, stay-at-home mom, athlete, whatever it is, every woman has a story to tell. And I felt like that I wanted this to be the platform for women to share it on.
Awesome.
And
I'm sorry to hear about that. That's frustrating. Like you were being receptive to someone and then they were awful. And
it was frustrating, but like there was a light at the end of the tunnel, and like the podcast was it, because the conversations that I've had with women are phenomenal. And the biggest thing is, and I don't want to say I get this question a lot, but I do get asked, I'm like, so how do you feel about like the whole feminist movement and stuff like that? But it's not a feminist podcast. It's literally a women supporting women podcast. And I just feel like we deserve a platform, and we should have a platform that we can literally just be vulnerable and tell our story, and because we're all going big in some way. You know, whether you're volunteering or staying at home and you have your first child, or, you know, whatever it is, like, we all have big wins, and I think that everybody should be able to share those. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like that. I I think you could still do your event and it could still be awesome. And I think you have this podcast now that will lead up to it. And I'm excited for what that's going to look like if that ever happens, if you decide you want that to happen. But I think that could be really cool.
Thanks, Maggie.
Yeah.
You know, and I've thought about it, and I need a little break from events.
You are quite the event master.
I'm so tired. Like, I think my face is sunburned. I don't know if you guys can see, but like, I have just like sunburned cheeks from this weekend. But no, I do love events, and I love event planning. I think I kind of have to get my confidence back up after losing that event to somebody else. But I do agree with you, and I think the idea is there, and I know it's there with my podcast. Like, women resonate with that. Like, they do want a platform that they can just share their story on, because we all want to be heard. You know, like, the thing with my rodeo is that, you know, sometimes people think that volunteering is so small, you know, and you're just giving your time, or, you know, whatever it is. But I will tell you, like, we had a record year this year.
Oh, awesome.
We probably are going to raise the most money that we have ever raised in 4 days that we have ever done in the last 56. So it's just cool. Everybody has their story, and I think everybody should share theirs. So
that's awesome. So kind of circling back around, for social media, you do management, you do coaching to kind of like empower people, show them how to manage their own social media. Where do you see yourself going with that service? Is that something you're going to continue? Or are you looking for new ways to work on anything? What's in the future for you in that?
You know, so I feel like Zenith is my platform for my social media marketing. I still have, like, Southwest Media Solutions is awesome, and I love it. It was my first business and kind of my baby. But again, it comes down to there's power in numbers. And partnering with you and John, I feel like I bring so much more value to the table with my clients than I do as a solo by myself. You know, so as far as what the future looks like I really truly see us growing into more of an agency, you know, where in me personally is that I want to be kind of the social media strategist, where I can say, hey, this is what we need to do for you. You know, and here's how we're going to tie in what Maggie's doing. Here's how we're going to tie in what John is doing. And then have somebody below me that can actually do the work.
Yeah.
You know, so we can lay out the timeline and the map and the strategy for it, because that's how we're going to grow. And for me, ideally, that's what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I want to be. Like, that's the next step for me, is because I feel like I put in my time. I've gone through the struggles. I've gone through just about every kind of industry you can imagine. That's where I see myself next. Because I don't want to be doing the manual work forever, because that's not how you scale.
Yeah, no, I think growth would be amazing and awesome on the horizon. That would be great. So if people want to get to know you, how can they follow you? Where do they go?
So, I have a couple different websites. I have 2 websites. So if you want to follow Southwest Media Solutions and you want to see some of the work that I've already done, you can absolutely do that. It is swsolutions.com, or sorry, swmediasolutions.com. And then you can also visit justkrista.com. And that's kind of like my more personal site. It just gives you a little more information about myself and what I do and where I've come from. And then I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. I will spell my name because it's not normal. And so first name Krysta, Krysta, and then my last name, bear with me, P as in Paul, A Ffrath, Paffrath. It's just how it sounds. And you guys can follow me both on Instagram and Facebook for that.
Awesome. Well,
And
thank you so
LinkedIn
much.
if you really want, but I don't really like LinkedIn. Just saying. Just throwing that out there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Maggie. I appreciate you.
Oh, stop it. Thanks.